Welcome. This video's to demonstrate the initial startup operations of the Euromac punch at our emittals. Start off by turning the main power on. It'll take a little while to start up. You won't be able to see the screen because it's pretty dim, but while you're waiting for it to start up, make sure that the emergency switch is pulled out. Push the start button to start the hydraulic pump. I'm going to turn it over to manual first. So we'll start this. And once the pump is started, you can calibrate or zero the axes. So we'll do that. Okay. So once it's zeroed, you can turn it back to automatic, and I'm going to turn it off, the pump off, to make it quiet. The majority of the programs that you're going to be doing you'll be opening a program, so there's the disk icon. Let's see, yep, the disk icon, and it'll have kind of just like a standard Windows menu, and it's not a touch screen, so you'll have to scroll down to it, and once you find what you want, you push the enter button, and then it'll ask you if you want to open that if the program that's already there hasn't been saved, and I'm going to hit OK. So once it's up there, if you're opening a program to run it, just kind of follow the directions on the screen, push escape to execute the job, and it'll come up with a sheet loading. No real reason to change that. It'll tell you, or it'll ask you, or give you the option to move the clamp positions, or you can set it to automatic. Setting it to automatic means that there's potentially less times it's going to have to reposition. Once it's basically done its thing as far as calculating or setting up where the punches are going to go, you'll push the start button to begin the hydraulic pump, and you'll push the button that has a number 1 with kind of the square arrows around it, and that'll bring the clamps where they need to be. And at this point, it'll tell you to load the multi-tool and also set the positions to set the clamps to. And once that's ready, you push the 1 button again, and that'll start the machine cycling through. As far as positioning the clamps go, there's 2 bolts on the top of each clamp. Loosen those, that one's already loose. And as far as the position, you'll see you'll run off the left side. So it says to set it at 14. That's where 14 will be. Same thing with this other clamp, it's on the left side. In order to pull the tooling out, you have to start the hydraulic pump, and once it's started, this green switch will release the die set, and then pressing this will allow you to pull the top out, so we'll do that. You can hear it engage. There's the bottom. Push this button, moves the pin, and pull this out. To remove the die set, I don't know if you can see that. Make sure you can. There we go. That's how you remove the die set. Separate. There's a slot. It lines up with the pin. To change punches and strippers, you'll need to, in order to do all that, you'll need the sleeve for this wrench, this little gadget somebody made. It's a small little Allen wrench and a screwdriver. So first, engage that, pop that loose. That pulls off. Inside here there's a clip, and to get it off you'll use this little gadget, stick it underneath one side. I don't know if you can see that very well, but you can see when you pry it over with the screwdriver, it'll give you the chance to get that little piece under there and pull that clip out, and the punches slide out pretty easy from there. There you go. Put this back in. Just make sure that it's engaged. Top back in. You don't need to torque it really hard, just enough to kind of seat it. As far as changing the strippers, there's a bolt right there. Just loosen it. You don't need to take it all the way out, and then you can see the grooves in there. You'll slide it and it releases those. If you're going from a smaller punch to a larger punch, an easy way to get the stripper out is to push the punch in from the back side, but in this case, once you rotate this, it gives you a little bit of a gap. You can get the screwdriver in there and just kind of get it started, and then work it out from there. I know it's not the best way, but there you go, there's your stripper. Put it back in, same thing. If you're doing slotted punches, you want to make sure that the direction that you have for the punches matches up with the dies. You can see the different slots for the different angles. So you have 90 degrees available on this one, 45, 90, 180. So you can kind of do that any combination. You want to make sure that the way this is the way that your multi-tool is set up for the particular program that you're doing. And when you go to put this back in, you'll have to line up this slot with the pin in the receiver. Let's see if I can show you that. So slip it in. There's a little pin down there. If you don't get it exactly straight, you might have to knock it back and forth. And don't just drop it in. There's a set of teeth right here for turning the multi-tool, and you don't want to damage those, so you'll want to make sure they're lined up before. When you're all ready to go, the top, make sure the bottom's put back in. It's going to be a little bit loose, but once it's your switch is engaged again, it'll lock it nice and tight. So we'll start the pump. In order to put it back in, you have to push the button again that really pulls the pin up, so that'll clear. You can let go, and slide it back in, flip the switch, lock nice and tight. To turn the machine off, if you're running a program, push the escape button that brings you back to where you would be entering different hole patterns. Push the delete button, it'll say, are you sure you want to switch off the machine? Move it over to OK, and hit enter. But before I do that, if you're zooming, like if you have some parts, there's a zoom button, and it shows up with a little square, and to make the square bigger or smaller as far as what you want to zoom in on, there's a plus and minus. You can also move around, and then when you're ready, push enter. Or if you're zooming and you're really small and you want to zoom back out, while you're in zoom, push menu, and it gives you the grid, back zoom, or panoramic. So panoramic will bring you back out to the very kind of to the default. If you need to delete a particular function, there's this little erase, and it'll bring up the little crosshairs where each particular setup of holes starts, and using the arrow keys you can get a pretty close, but a lot of times it's not close enough. So there'll be a little circle around the crosshairs when it's selected, and if you can't get close enough, push the menu and it'll make it so that you can move more gradually, and you can toggle back and forth. So push the menu once and you go to really small increments, push it again, you go to bigger increments, so you can kind of zoom across the screen. Same thing if you want to modify a part. So that should be it. I'll close it down, and once the computer turns off, you'll want to go back and turn the main switch off that you switched on at the beginning.